What if your next productivity breakthrough wasn't another app to learn, but a better way to find the answers that are hidden across 60 plus tools and subfolders and inboxes that you already use? Well, in today's episode, I'm joined by someone who knows a thing or two about cutting through the digital noise and digital clutter. His name's Andy Wilson. He's the Senior Director of New Product Solutions at Dropbox. And from helping launch BBC iPlayer and covering the London 2012 Olympics to now working with teams like McLaren F1 on AI-powered workflows, Andy's career is now all about making information more accessible and more useful. And I think that's something we're all struggling with. And today he's going to be sharing how Dropbox Dash is helping to transform the way we work by acting more like a digital chief of staff than a simple search bar. And I also want to learn more about why upskilling in the AI era that we find ourselves isn't just about prompts and plugins. It's actually about rethinking creativity, trust, and indeed time itself. So as Dropbox leads with a virtual first model, I'm going to ask him to offer a glimpse into what the future of collaboration really looks like when AI is baked into the operating model, not bolted on after the fact. So enough from me. Let's get Andy onto the podcast now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andy Wilson. I'm a senior director at Dropbox, leading new product solutions. So I work with our engineering and product teams to help bring our newest developments to market and work with our customers to help introduce new products and gain early access feedback on how we enhance what we're building.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you join me. I suspect everyone listening all around the world would have heard of Dropbox. Many would have used you. But before you came on the podcast today, one of the things that I was reading about is Dropbox Dash. Seems to be gaining quite a bit of attention right now for how it's streamlining access to information. But before we go there, what inspired its development? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, Dash is a really exciting AI development, but it was born through a set of observations from our CEO, Drew Houston, on the challenges of modern work. And when you start thinking about it, it actually dates back to when he originally created Dropbox. You know, it was the mid-2000s, if you can cast your mind back that far. And everybody was really trying to find out, where is that document that I'm looking for? Back then it was, is it on a shared network drive? Did I download it to my hard drive? Was it on a USB stick? Have I lost that USB stick? Or even which email is it attached to? Now, then Dropbox's solution was to sync all of your content to the cloud so you can keep files organized across all your devices. And that pretty much blew everyone away. Information where you needed it. But today we live in a slightly different world. The challenge today isn't just storing files, it's finding them, organizing them, and securing them. And because of that, our content is scattered across lots and lots of browser tabs. And I'm sure as you're going about your day-to-day work, you're not just sitting in Word, you're using a range of different online tools and apps to do that. And in the average business, they've got about 60 different SaaS tools. So that means as digital work grows, so does the tool sprawl. So the hard part of all of this problem is that it looks different for every company because you all use lots of different tools and information lives in lots of different places. It's messy and it lacks standardization or often structure. So that same problem that we set out to solve with Dropbox around syncing your files is now multiplied across every cloud platform. But the challenge really remains the same. Where's my stuff? How can I work on it faster? And how can I ensure that only the people that should have access to it do? So that's why we built Dropbox Dash, our new AI-powered search, knowledge management, and content access governance platform. And I'm still amazed that for businesses everywhere, it's much easier to search all of human knowledge online with Google than it is to find that stat of piece of information inside your own company data. So that's the challenge that we're setting out to solve.
And when I started researching Dropbox Dash, I went down a right rabbit hole reading about some pretty big name customers that are using it out there. And for people that have not been there or know much about it, tell me about how customers like McLaren F1, for example, is one that really stood out. How are they using it to boost productivity? Anything you can share around that?
Yeah, McLaren's been a great partner for us. We've been working with them on Dash from the early days, actually. They were one of our first design partners who helped us to develop the tools. And as we built products at Dropbox, we worked with early adopter customers, and we work really closely with them to develop these new features, get their feedback, understand what's really key to their use cases. And so McLaren was part of that process. And at the heart of it, Dash is about the ability to find information quickly. So it combines AI universal search and knowledge management to help teams get work done. So with Dash, you can do more than just search. You can ask it natural language questions, and Dash is then going to research inside all of your information repositories, not just Dropbox. It will connect to, your SharePoint or your G Drive, and it will then generate an answer from you to that question. So for McLaren, it could be as simple as, what time are the drivers being collected from the hotel for the race? For the team to, ask on the move, maybe on the Dash mobile app. So it means that as they're managing the complexity of those race weekends, they can get answers really quickly. But Dash is more than that. It provides in-depth content access governance. So that means that IT teams can have a much better visibility on who's got access to what content. So it helps you to protect your company's most sensitive data. So that's the protect and control capability. It's really about ensuring that all that sensitive race team content is protected. And for a team like McLaren, obviously security is core to their business. So being able to quickly and easily understand who's got access to which documents across their cloud platforms and quickly then change those settings in one place is a real game changer. But also with them, we worked on actually developing some other features deep within the product. So one of those features is called Stacks. It's a smart collections of content. Think about it as like the evolution of the shared folder. But instead of just having files in there, they can put files alongside Smart Sheets, Google Presentations, Jira tickets, all your different content types and online locations can be brought together in one shareable space, which means that it makes it really easy to share that content with internal or external collaborators. And then because we've got that AI layer, you can even ask questions about the stack, like, are we on track for the launch? And Dash is going to look inside all your information sources and give you an answer based on that information. So it really gives you tailored answers based on your company's information. And for McLaren, Stacks allows them to plan their race days and all the activities that happen around that. Because you can imagine partners like Dropbox, celebrity drivers, a huge amount of fan engagement and press activity. It's a busy weekend. So with Stacks, the team can bring together all those activities and then again, ask questions about it while they're on the move from their mobile phone. So it's a bit like having a smart event system on your smartphone.
Incredibly cool, because as someone that records 30 podcast interviews, writes 30 articles a month and attends many tech conferences around the world, I don't know how much of my time is lost trying to find information that I've put in a subfolder somewhere. So just being able to ask that question of what time is this event, where's my flight, and just get that answer straight away is incredibly cool. But with so many tools and platforms in the average workflow, a question I've got to ask on behalf of everyone listening is how else does it cut through the digital clutter and noise and help improve focus and time management and maybe some of those things I mentioned? Because there are so many time stealers out, isn't there? It seems like it could solve a lot of them.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that we live in a world where we've adopted best of breed technology.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic because it's really enabled us to have the best point solutions across all our projects and work. But the flip side of all of this is that information lives in lots of different places. And so that's where Dash comes in. It centralizes all of that information to help you save time. And time's that one commodity that we can't get enough of. Now, according to some research reports I was reading recently, about 69% of workers spend up to an hour a day just switching between apps. Exactly what you were just saying. If you want to complete a task, what time's your flight, or what time's that next interview you're doing, or have you done the background research on it? So if we can help you to find the information, to take action on it, or just simply ask questions across all your content, then it can really turn around where you start your tasks and how much time you can spend. You can kind of save. If you're spending an hour a day already just switching between apps, like how much more time can we give you back? And it's that breaking of focus that we really want to solve, because if you can find the information immediately, rather than doing the equivalent of rummaging through lots of different digital filing cabinets, and then ultimately realizing you can't find it and then slacking a colleague or messaging a contributor and then sending them down the same rabbit hole. Well, we're going to help businesses everywhere to actually spend time growing and concentrating on what they should be doing, not just hunting for stuff.
And I also read before you joined me today that you described AI as a kind of chief of staff, which is a great phrase there. But what does it look like in practical terms for people listening? And how are you seeing it reshape the way people work? Because you've got quite a unique vantage point here where you see how people are using it, probably using it in ways that maybe you didn't even imagine as well. But what are you seeing here?
Yeah, well, firstly, who doesn't want their own personalized chief of staff? That's the reality. But we're living in a time when our tools can learn how we communicate, when we're most productive, and can automatically help us to manage our schedules, to prioritize the most important things that we have to deliver. And, procrastination's a very real thing for lots of people. So, having a slight nudge in the right direction to know, you've got that deadline tomorrow, you really need to get this work done. Really, really useful. So, at Dropbox, we've actually recently welcomed the team from Reclaim.ai into the Dropbox family. And Reclaim is an AI calendar assistant, and it helps you to automatically reorganize your meetings and tasks to prioritize what needs to get done, as well as knowing when you might need a breather based on your own personal preferences. That might be, you need to a break for meditation, or you want to eat lunch, or you want to go and exercise, or simply make a cup of tea after that long meeting. You're going to be more productive if you go and do that. So if we look at AI power productivity, you can start combining things like Reclaim to manage your time and your calendar with tools like Dash for finding information. And then we've got amazing tools like speech to text tools like Otter.ai or Rev.com. And so they then can help you to, go on that walk and dictate that long email or that long project update or that script that you're working on. So if you combine all these things, you've got a time manager, a researcher for all your company information, someone to help write your emails from dictation, and all of a sudden you've saved hours and can really reimagine how you can add value to your business or to growing your business. And we all want to have someone who's going to make our time better organized, but finally we've now actually got these tool sets that when you start combining them, we can actually do it.
And as AI becomes more embedded in our daily operations, I'm curious, from a people and a workplace culture side of things, how do you think companies should maybe be rethinking upskilling and help support not just the technical capabilities, but also creative decision making? Because it feels like we're going through a big period of change here. And I suppose we need to ensure that nobody gets left behind and everybody's able to leverage this technology.
Yeah, I think it's different for every business. I mean, it would be fantastic to say, hey, here's the answer. I think it is different for every business. For many, they're going to be in the experimentation stage. So everybody's learning, trying things out, working what fits with their team, their working style, and the kind of projects they work on. So that's a really important part of it. And so the first thing for any business thinking about, where do we go on our change journey, is to think about giving permission to test, but to also give the right kind of guardrails and governance to go with it. So, if you're going to test, try things out, share what you learn, but make sure that you think about that AI governance strategy. What information can you use? Who should have permission to see it? So it's important to understand how your business information is going to be used, because that's the kind of the basis of, let's be very, very trustworthy. Think about some AI principles that will guide your team members around what they can and maybe what they shouldn't be doing with that information. Once you've done that, it's also about putting in place the right kind of change management support. And because the reality is that we've all got to keep our businesses running while we're doing this work. So you've got to put in place that change plan, put the right support in place, the right training and coaching, appoint those right champions inside each team, inside your business, who are going to be the ones who are going to show everybody else the way, help to coach them along. And that's really one of the best ways to ensure a successful AI change program, is thinking holistically about, how can I help people to experiment? What permission can I give them? What controls can I put in place to safeguard our data, our customers, our information? How do I train them? How do I coach them? And then how do I take that and then also shout about the great work that's being done, encourage people? And for most businesses, if you aren't helping your teams to do more with AI, don't be surprised if they're doing it for themselves without your permission.
And one of the things I wanted to highlight today is I also recently learned that Dropbox operates under a virtual first model, which is incredibly cool. And there'll be a lot of businesses want to get there, but maybe are struggling. So what are some of the most effective ways that you've seen AI used to support hybrid teams in particular? Because I think that's the most popular model now. But what kind of things are you seeing here?
Yeah, well, firstly, virtual first, it's a really special approach to working. We decided that we were going to migrate over to virtual first kind of very early during the pandemic in kind of October 2020. And it brings together the best of remote working with some dedicated time together in real life as well. And if you're a company like Dropbox that's developing products and solutions to help really build the future of work, what we believe is that you need to kind of live that product truth. So that's what we do. We work in a mixture of remote, and then we have time for in-person collaboration. We really have to live by those same principles. So there's a few practices actually that we introduced which help us to be more effective in this way. And firstly, we have an approach that is based around asynchronous by default. So that means if we're working together on a project, we might have a kickoff, which may be in person. It might be over a video conferencing tool. But after that, we'll likely work together using collaboration tools, a lot of our own tools, to help manage the development of the project. And then we'll use workplace messaging tools to communicate. And that's really important because obviously our project team can be spread over multiple countries because we want to choose the best talent from wherever they are. So instilling these practices really that allow you to be understanding of time zones and work-life balance is really important. And, for us, that's, having some rules around, timed communication. So if I'm messaging you and I know that you're in California at the moment, then I'm going to time that message to arrive to you at a time that's more relevant to you. I'm not going to send you a ping on your phone at, 4 a.m. But that also is where you can start using those AI-powered calendaring systems to help schedule those multi-team member meetings where you do want to get together live. So instead of sending 25 emails, trying to schedule, and then somebody's got a meeting or they can't make it, they're on holiday, that AI assistant will just find the right time for the team and book it in for you. So it makes that idea of bringing people together really, really just much simpler. We also operate core collaboration hours, and these are blocks of time during the day for collaborating with teams in other time zones. So for me, that's time in the morning to collaborate with my colleagues in Japan and Australia and New Zealand, and then time in the late afternoon to work with our teams in San Francisco. And during these times, we're encouraged to have those virtual meetings where we can do, push work forward in real time. But also we want to make sure that we're kind of moving around our one-to-ones to enable us to have that time where we can have in-person virtual meetings. So, we do that as our ways of working, but we also bring all of that together in the tools that we use. So, as I mentioned, a lot of our work is asynchronous. So it means that I can find lots of information just by searching on Dash to find, the latest update on this project. And it will go and tell me that. Or I'll bring together my team if we're working on a specific product release. Then we'll all work inside a stack that will be where we have all of the different, Jira backlogs in there and our marketing planning. And that will all come together in there. So again, it's one central place I can go to, and I can then easily get a status update by asking it a question. Are we on track for the launch? And that means I don't have to send someone a Slack, send them down, that rabbit hole. Well, I can just ask the documents themselves and they'll give me a natural language response, which is really good. So you won't be surprised as well to hear that for all our document collaboration, we use Dropbox. And then when we're putting together, launch videos or marketing videos, we'll use our review and approve tools as well. So we have tools that we put in place to really help us be much more productive.
And I'm always fascinated by the origin stories of my guests every day on this podcast. So when I was researching you, I quickly learned you've got a background where you have worked at the BBC and Aardman Animation. So how was that experience in creative and media sectors? How did that influence your approach to product innovation at Dropbox? And one of the reasons I ask this is I often think about the Steve Jobs quote where you cannot join up the dots looking forward. It's only when you look back and you see how all those things fall into play. So tell me a little bit more about that background and how it's helped you in your role today.
Well, firstly, the media is one of the most exciting places to work. I hope you agree with me, Neil, in that because it is fantastic. You're passionately trying to bring the best experience to your audience and engage them on whatever devices or platforms that you're using. It could be mobile, TV, print, gaming, whatever. There's amazing ways to tell those stories. But when I look back, the media as an industry, certainly, in my time working in it, has gone through incredible change. It's probably one of the most exciting times to have worked in the media, from the, late 90s through to today. We've had digital music, streaming on demand, podcasts, 8K, VR, the growth of mobile, all incredible leaps in how we can tell stories and the opportunities to share those stories, but also in the production technologies that sit behind them. And with each of these technological changes, you've also got a lot of challenges. So if I can tell an amazing story like, Planet Earth 2 and have the most beautiful high quality images, how can I get that incredibly large file back from the Arctic? If news is more about faster responses, how can I receive a user generated piece of content from a big news event as quickly as possible? Or if I'm working on, a tight turnaround documentary, how can I get sign off for my work faster? And these are real problems to solve that, and they enable you to take some of the, more procedural challenges out of that process, because what you want to do is put all your effort into telling great stories and making them look beautiful. So if we can take out some of the heavy lift, and that was why I joined Dropbox, really, was to how can we look at those kinds of production workflows, that work that goes on, how can we help teams to do it in a much more effective way? And so, we develop tools like Dropbox Replay, which is a review and feedback tool that helps people to give feedback on audio, video, and image content. And so again, you can reduce the amount of time it takes to collate all your stakeholder, your exec, editorial policy feedback to then get to sign off much, much faster. And we also develop capabilities like file requests. Now, these are really powerful tools, but are really easy to use. So, and these were used by broadcasters during the pandemic to make feature films, actually, about how people around the world were living and working. And the way they did that was they recruited hundreds of contributors, all using their smartphones to record daily video diaries. And they used file request, which is a Dropbox capability, which basically just sends an email to someone and says, hey, we'd like you to send us a file. It takes them to a website and you just select the file on your smartphone and it will then upload it for you. But it meant for those broadcasters, every day they could aggregate hundreds of stories that they could then be bringing together in the edit to tell that story of, how life changed and how people experience things, which is just incredibly simple. A smartphone at home, everybody's got one of those. The ability to upload from that smartphone, simple. And then it's all aggregated and directed into individual story folders, which makes it really simple. And now, obviously, we've got AI-powered rich media search inside of Dash, which is going to help studios to find images from last year's campaign that makes it really special. So, it was a great bringing together of some of the development and technology changes I've seen in the media, and then how we can help those producers, those program makers, those designers to do things in a much better way. And, it's knowing that to tell the story or to create the billboard, you've got to have this seamless workflow. And now with AI, you can have it AI assisted, but it's there to help enhance your creativity and not to replace it. So yeah, I'm constantly thinking about how do we speed up creative workflows and how can we collaborate with more partners and other technology providers to make life just much easier for creatives, but to be honest, with knowledge workers everywhere, because we want to solve those productivity challenges for everybody.
Absolutely love that. And if we do dare look even further ahead, I appreciate you probably locked down and can't share too much, but how do you see AI reshaping the broader ecosystem of work that we all exist in? And what role do you see Dropbox playing in this evolution?
Well, as I just said, we've seen these amazing evolutions over the last, 40 years, if you include the development of the web and other technologies. And what we've learned from that is that, AI will eventually be normalized in the same way that we normalized email, workplace messaging apps, video conferencing, and other transformational technologies that we now just accept as normal. So we will get to that stage. Now, yes, there is a transformational jump, just like when we first introduced the web around the world in the early 90s. But for Dropbox, we've been that place that you trust with your company's most important assets, its content and its information. Now, we want to help you to get the most intelligence and efficiency with how you work with that content. So ultimately, we want to help you to build a much more enlightened way of working.
And I think that's a perfect moment to end on. But before I do let you go, we learned a lot today about your work at Dropbox and indeed your background in creative and media industries from BBC to Aardman Animations. But of course, none of us are able to achieve any degree of success without a little help along the way. Very often we encounter people on our journey that see something and invest a little time in us. So I want to give that person a shout out today. So is there a particular person that you're grateful towards who maybe helped you get you where you are?
Well, firstly, there's so many that I owe so much to. So I'm going to call out three. Anne Morrison, she was an executive producer at the BBC. She was famous for bringing back Top Gear, amongst many other achievements. She was also the chair of BAFTA, and she was somebody who really helped convince me that leadership was something that was actually could be fun. And you can help to lead change and drive change in a different way. I was lucky enough to work with Jessica Cecil, who taught me about the knowledge of the possible as we were developing BBC Microbit, which is a little computer that helps children to learn how to code, and how, you can help people to understand and have confidence in what they really can deliver and how much more they can deliver than kind of people's self-limited expectations of themselves. That was an amazing kind of unlock for me. Mark Harrison, who runs the Digital Production Partnership, he taught me about really how you bring the industry together to drive change, because if you're really going to make some of these fundamental big shifts in how you do things, you need everybody to work together, and together you can achieve a lot more. But more than that, I'm really lucky to be the chair of a charity called Teen Tech, and I'm most inspired by the young people that take part in the Teen Tech Awards every year, because I see the amazing imagination and just lack of blinkered thinking and what that can do to unlock just phenomenal ideas and innovations. It also reminds me that great ideas come from everywhere, and that constantly inspires me to be, very, very happy about the fact that the future's in safe hands.
Well, a big shout out to Anne, Jessica, Mark, and the team, the people at Team Tech there. And I hope they get to hear it, because they all sound inspiring, humble, and I suspect will be quite selfless too. And I think it's so powerful for them to actually get to hear the impact that they've had on you and your career, because they're probably blissfully unaware, and how you're taking those lessons forward, and a big part of what you're doing. And it's such an impact that we're having here, and we all have on each other, and I don't think we talk about it enough. So a big shout out to everybody there. And for anybody listening wanting to find out about Dropbox, all the things we talked about today, and maybe even carry on this conversation, where would you like to point them?
Well, I think the best place to start is dash.dropbox.com. There's a huge amount of resources there. Go check it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us an overview of Dropbox Dash, the culture, the stories behind the tech, your origin story, and a few thank yous to the people that made all that possible as well. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.
So are we finally reaching the point where our tech works with us rather than against us? And listening to some of the stories there, from McLaren's race weekends to everyday knowledge work, I think Andy made a compelling case that AI isn't replacing our best ideas. It's helping us find them and give us more time to breathe. And as I said, every day I find myself searching through subfolders and various apps, trying to find little snippets of information that I've been working on. Being able to just ask a question: where can I find this file, this PDF, this customer, these flight details, just from asking a question rather than searching through. I think I put it in this subfolder in my inbox. I think this is the secret to reclaiming so many lost hours, but also removing friction, especially around finding the file you swear you saved last Tuesday. The conversation reminded me that real productivity isn't about hustle. It's about clarity. But what do you think? Could an AI-powered chief of staff be just what you or your team needs? Or are we still trying to automate our way out of problems we don't fully understand yet? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts. As always, my inbox is always open, and I'd love to hear where you stand. techblogwriter@outlook.com, socials just at Neil C. Hughes at everything. Pop by techtalksnetwork.com. You'll find out thousands of interviews across 8 podcasts that I run, and even a way of leaving me an audio message. So check those out, and I'll be back again very soon. Thanks again. Bye for now.